Mockery turned into a clause. The black maid saves the company and becomes majority partner. Before I start this story, I want to invite you to do something. Leave a comment saying where you're watching from. It's always amazing to see how far these stories go. And if you're into intense romances full of twists and turns, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss a single new chapter, and you'll be helping us grow and bring you more stories made to move you. If you save me, I'll marry you. The silence on the C-suite floor cuts like a blade. Glass all around, Los Angeles lit up below like a constellation. The AC blows way too cold. The smell mixes burnt coffee with the citrus disinfectant from the cleaning cart. Ethan Crawford, 38, loosened tie, wrinkled shirt, stares at 3 screens with red graphs. On the main monitor, an alert blinks. Margin call, 7 o'clock PT. The Steel watch on his wrist reflects the city. He laughs without humor, leaning on the desk, the weight of Beverly Hills on his back. Grace Monroe holds the mop but doesn't look away. Glowing dark skin under the neon, a perfect low bun, simple uniform, worn-out sneakers. Noted, she replies, dryly. The word drops between them like a signature. Relax, it was a joke, he tries, voice of someone who bought the joke long before telling it. Just needed a break. Jokes are expensive when they come out of your mouth and fall into mine, Mr. Crawford. A nervous intern in a tight blazer rushes in. Spills coffee near the window, doesn't even look at her. Can you? Grace is already kneeling, wiping the fine tea. Floor. He steps within inches of her knee, phone to his ear. The CFO wants to know who authorized the 14B at 5 a.m., he mutters as if she were part of the carpet. A dry shock, silent humiliation. The elevator opens. 2 assistants whisper. Do they let just anyone in here now? One of them spits. Grace pretends not to hear. Her face stays calm, but her jaw tightens. Ethan notices. The shame passes through his eyes quickly. It's okay, guys, she's been here forever. And she cleans better than most executives work. Awkward cheap. He tries to make up for it, but it already came out wrong. Grace stands, rag still in hand. She glances at the screens discreetly, like she's checking if they're really clean. Sees columns, rows, order codes. Also sees something that shouldn't be there. 2 outgoing emails with the same subject. Different times, middle of the night. You use your own NTP server? She asks casually. Ethan blinks. What? Clock. Does it sync externally or internally? She subtly points with her chin. There's duplicate stuff with mismatched timestamps while the building lights were on. He half smiles half. Mockery, half defense. You understand this stuff? I understand how to read what's in front of me. And people who think no one's watching, she steps back. The cart squeaks. I also understand catching a packed Century Boulevard bus at 5:30. If that margin call hits at 7, someone's losing their job. Maybe a lot of people who catch that same bus. A dry beep. On the laptop, a DM pops up. Evan, we need to talk now. Ethan ignores it. How long have you worked here? 4 years. 4 different CEOs, 3 culture slogans, 212 nights on this floor. And why have I never noticed you? She stared out at the city for a moment, mansion lights scattered on the hills. Because you didn't have to. Until now. He straightens up, pulls up a graph, tries to retake control of the scene. You think I'm going down because of a desensed clock, Grace? I think you're going down because you trust the system they say is fail-proof and not the human failure smiling in the hallway. Pause. Or the one stepping in spilled coffee without apologizing. Ethan studies her like an algorithm gave him the wrong result. Okay, what exactly did you see? 2 identical emails, digitally signed, sent at times no one should have been here. A 1-4B order without the signature in the right spot. And your face? My face? The face of someone who already lost but can't admit it out loud. She rests her hand on the mop handle. How much is left in the account until Friday? He breathes. Doesn't answer. Silence answers for him. It's going to hurt, she says, but it can be patched. You're talking patchwork with a margin call banging. At the door? His tone rises. Instinctive defense. You clean bathrooms, Grace. You don't fix financials. I clean what everyone messes up and pretends not to see, she fires back. Steady. Bathrooms. Spreadsheets. Ego. He lets out a short laugh, surprised, arrogant, trained. She steps a little closer, keeping professional and dignified distance. The smell of bleach clears the air between them. Give me 20 minutes with read-only access. I won't download anything. Just look. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize and go back to scrubbing your coffee. He looks back at the screen, then at her. The city pulses. He's out of moves. She has a proposal. 20 minutes? 15, she corrects. You don't have 20. A pause that's almost a contract. Ethan types something quickly, grants temporary access. Read only. And nothing leaves. This floor, I've got nowhere to take anything but my hands. She sits sideways at the auxiliary terminal, card still like a loyal dog. Light fingers on the keyboard. Clean, focused navigation. She doesn't guess, she confirms. Sweeps logs, checks headers, compares times. The axis blows harder. The lights seem colder. Who taught you this? He asks, surrendering to his own curiosity. My mom taught me books. My dad taught me how to take things apart and put them back together. The rest was YouTube, late nights, and people underestimating my intelligence. He studies every sentence like a KPI. This one for, but why does it bother you? Because every time someone signs something they shouldn't, they leave a trail. She zooms in. Look here. The login logs out at 10:17 p.m., but the email log's time zone says 2:03 a.m. The hallway camera was off during that window, and this digital signature? Too perfect. No jitter, no typos. Nobody fills out a form perfectly at 2 in the morning. Ethan leans in, blue-gray eyes fixed on the detail. For a moment, he forgets who she is. You're saying someone's using you to sign in the dark, or copying you well enough that you think it was you. He leans back, rattled by a fear he won't admit. That's a federal crime. That's just Tuesday for people who think folks like me won't speak up. She releases the keyboard. If you want to make it through the morning, you need 2 things. Lock the exits and open the windows. Transparency and time. Time's up, he whispers, looking at the clock, then makes some. Grace pulls a small notepad from her uniform pocket, writes 2 words in clear handwriting. Total transparency. Underneath, another, autonomy. Tears the sheet, folds it in half, and leaves it on his desk. Remember your joke? The clauses are here. Clauses? Are you demanding? I'm offering to turn your mockery into a clause. I help. You let me see everything. No theater. No, we'll talk later. Now, he holds the paper. The weight of that fold is heavier than it seems. What if I say no? You go home in a chauffeured car, and I take 2 buses to Inglewood. Tomorrow you wake up to the wrong headline and fire people who don't deserve it. I wake up to the same bills and a guilty conscience for staying quiet. Ethan's phone buzzes. Again. Evan. Urgent. The board wants numbers. He locks the screen. Breathes. Fine. Deal. For today. For today becomes a contract tomorrow. Grace picks up the rag, adjusts the cart. And this isn't about marriage. It was just a joke, he repeats. Lower, like he wishes he could rewind time. Jokes have terms too. She walks away, pushes the cart. The wheel squeaks like a comma. Before getting into the elevator, she turns. Tomorrow at 7, I'll be back with a plan. The doors close. Ethan is left alone with the folded paper and the distant sound of the rich city that might not save him this time. He opens a drawer to put the note away and freezes. Inside, a flash drive that isn't his. Translucent cap, white label, 14B. He doesn't remember putting it there. Who else was on the C-suite floor that night, and why did the right flash drive show up in Ethan's drawer at the wrong moment? The next morning she came back, with a plan. Cold fog covers Wilshire Boulevard. The bluish dawnlight hits the tower's glass like ice. Grace crosses the sidewalk in a clean uniform, dried-out sneakers, a simple backpack on her back. Inside, a battered notebook, a scratched Chromebook, a blank flash drive for notes. The street smells like diesel, cheap coffee, and sweet bread. From a Latin bakery that opens at 5. She swipes the contractor badge. The turnstile doesn't budge. Access authorization only starts at 8, says the security guard without lifting his eyes. I have temporary read-only access granted by Ethan Crawford. Expires at 7:10. Her voice doesn't shake. He checks the system, misreads the name, scrolls through the screen. The receptionist appears, beige blazer, tight smile. Building policy only allows cleaning staff in restricted areas outside business hours? Not recommended. What's recommended is keeping the server clock accurate. Grace stares at him. 30 minutes. And I'm out. Tense silence. The guard slowly types something. The turnstile unlocks. Go straight. No stop. The elevator hums quietly as it rises. When the doors open, the C-suite floor is cold and silent. Los Angeles below looks like a scale model of lights. Grace powers up the Chromebook, connects to the guest Wi-Fi, opens the corporate email she received the night before. Read-only access, short window. She takes a breath, closes her eyes for a second, and grounds herself. Teacher mother, mechanic father, her in the middle, learning and dismantling. First step, anchor contracts. She opens the legal directory, searches for keywords. Finds a PDF with long attachments, tiny font. Her hands move with precision. Auto-renewal clause every 36 months, early termination fee hidden in Appendix G. Exclusivity that looks like a discount but locks in the supplier, she murmurs, recording notes. The terms glow like traps. She highlights, screenshots. Reads again. Disguised MFN. If another client pays less, they punish you with a retroactive fee. Her stomach tightens. That's not bad luck. It's entrapment. Phone buzzes. Message from Ethan, on my way. 20 minutes in the glass room. Can you get me a summary? 15, she replies. Signed by me. Second step. Vendor lock. She dives into the master contract for a critical financial software. There it is. Proprietary API with above-average per call. Fees, export of logs in open format prohibited without conversion charges. It's a digital shackle. She notes, leaving costs more than staying, by design. Third step, 14B orders. Grace opens the execution module. Searches for the number that hasn't left her mind since the night before. The audit map appears, lines. Timestamps, IP, user. She knows what to look for and notices what's missing, real life. Who works perfectly at 2 in the morning? She clicks the suspicious cluster. 2 identical confirmation emails, same subject, seconds apart. Notices. The time zone in the header. UTC to 7, but the building had no one inside. Badge access logs show nothing. And the automated hallway lighting also signals absence. She cross-checks the data. The cursor hovers mid-air, as if the city itself were holding its breath. You're awfully quiet for someone who asked for 15 minutes. Ethan appears at the door, unshaven, deep eye bags, tie in his pocket. The expensive cologne tries to mask a rough night. Talking fast isn't the same as talking right. She rotates the screen to him. Anchor contracts with hidden penalties. Vendor. Lock that blocks data export unless you bleed. And recurring irregularities in the 14 billions. She points to the emails. Duplicates. Same signature. Different times. No one in the building. He gets closer, the blue light stinging his eyes. How do you know there was no one here? Hallway cameras were off from 158 to 207. She taps 2 keys. Night mode lighting was active. And the building tracks. Badge swipes, 0 entries. These confirmations came from nowhere or from someone elsewhere pretending to be here. Could be a provider retransmission. Could be. Her tone is firm, but not smug. Or someone set up a service account with permission to replicate tickets and is using NTP lag to push things through. 2 minutes become a window. He turns on his own screen, opens the internal chat. Did you just say push things through? I'm from Inglewood. I translated. And before he can smile, she continues. This isn't an accident, Ethan. It's method. His name leaves her lips plainly. Equals an urgency. He sits down, looks at the city for a moment, then back to the screen. And the rest? Contracts. I proposed amendments. Replace auto-renewal with renewal upon hitting KP is. Open the API through a transition agreement. Termination fee turned into performance bonus if the company stays. 3 calls. I'll lead them. You? He searches for irony. Finds courage.me. With legal present, of course. But I go in first. She opens a new document, simple title. Technical summary, 706 PT. The writing flows. Direct, no frills. A snapshot of the issue. At the end, she signs firmly, Grace Monroe. 20 minutes now. That's all I asked. He reads quickly, then, again more slowly. His eyes move as if searching for a trap. He finds none. He reaches the final paragraph, the painful one. If the duplicate emails are an internal artifact, then someone is digging the hole from the inside. He inhales, pulls out his phone, then gives up and sets it on the table. Do you know what this means? That you have a leak? Or a ghost? And you're going to tell me I can catch a ghost in 15 minutes. You can turn on the light. She points at the keyboard. Lockdown 14B, create a white list of addresses for sensitive orders. Ask IT for a log dump, but copied to physical media and stored offline. And change the time server now. If I mess with the time server, Infra will call me in 5 minutes. Let them call. She shrugs subtly. You're the CEO. He looks at her like someone rediscovering a forgotten piece of himself. I said I'd marry you if you saved me. I'm not asking you that. His voice softens, a crack in his pride. But stay here with me. I'll stay if you stop using promises as jokes. Her gaze doesn't drop. Between them, the city reflects in the sala. Glass, both stage and audience. He types brief commands, messages a technician. Temporarily locks 14B top priority. We'll review in 15. He turns to her. If this goes sideways, the board will skin me alive. If it goes sideways, it already was. It'll just come to light. She sends the email. The subject hits like a hammer. Critical inconsistencies and emergency actions. She copies only her own address. No CCS, adds at the end. I request 20 minutes for a decision now. Signed, Grace. A. Monroe. The silence stretches. The city moves into daytime. The light shifts from blue to pale gold. The building starts waking up. Keyboards, heels, fast conversations. An assistant walks into the room, sees Grace next to the CEO and freezes. "Can I get you coffee?" "Two," Ethan says, without hesitation. "One with brown sugar." Grace sees the shock in the assistant's eyes. It's not hate. It's habit. Ethan's phone buzzes. Email notification. Another. 3, 4. He frowns. Spam? Grace takes the Chromebook back, opens the inbox with her own copy. The same duplicate emails start pinging, identical to the overnight pattern, except now during business hours. She recognizes the trick. They're trying to flood the system with confirmations to hide the original trail. She looks around. The glass room reflects in every direction. Down the hall, in the distance, a shadow moves. Someone is watching without showing themselves. Her skin prickles. "Ethan, someone noticed I'm looking." She breaks the words down, quietly. "How do you know?" "Because they just repeated the error." In broad daylight. The emails keep coming, cascading. He clenches his fists. Who would have access to do this? Who profits when you lose? She ties her hair back in a firm motion, like someone securing her courage. And who assumes no one will believe the cleaning lady? He stands up, puts the call on speaker, and contacts IT. In a tone that leaves no room for refusal, he gives quick orders. "I want the email server isolated in read-only mode. Now." Logs on. "Cold media." And disable automatic retransmission of confirmations. He hangs up and turns back to Grace. 20 minutes. "I promised." She picks up the notebook, rubs the worn-out cover with her thumb, and begins sketching a simple flowchart. Where it comes in, who signs, where it diverts. The assistant returns with the coffee, hands trembling. "Do you need anything else?" "I need silence." Grace smiles faintly, but her voice is steel. In the hallway, the shadow disappears. Grace's phone vibrates again. Unknown number. Short message that chills the air. "Stop poking 14B. No signature. No emoji. No typo. She looks up. Ethan reads the screen at the same time. They say nothing. The clock reads 7:19. The day has barely started, and someone's already sent the first warning. Someone inside. The company isn't just duplicating emails, they're watching Grace's every move. And now they know exactly where she is. The silence after the threatening message still hangs heavy in the air. The clock reads 7:19, and Ethan paces, tension written all over his broad shoulders. Grace closes the notebook and locks her gaze on him with resolve. "You saw what just happened," she says, voice low but firm. "Someone inside your company is willing to sabotage everything, even in broad daylight." Ethan rubs his forehead, his face tired. The reflection of the city behind him glows on the glass like a lit stage. "If I don't fix this in less than 2 months, I won't have a company left. And if I lose the company, I lose everything." Grace crosses her arms, her simple uniform, in sharp contrast to the wrinkled silk suit he wears. Then it can't be just a patch-up job. It needs to be an agreement, written, irrevocable. He stops, meets her eyes. Blue-gray, a mix of defiance and desperation. His voice comes out almost like a confession. "Yesterday I joked that I'd marry you if you saved me. Today I'm saying that if you stabilize my cash flow in 60 days, I'll acknowledge you publicly. And more, I'll launch an inclusion program within the company. Not as charity, as obligation." Grace takes a deep breath. Her heart races, but her face remains calm. "You want to turn the joke into a contract? I want to turn it into a pact. I don't have any other way out." She steps forward. The light of the rising sun casts a golden outline on her skin, as if the day itself were siding with her. "Then I accept. But only with 2 clauses of my own." Ethan raises an eyebrow, curious and wary. "Which ones?" First, full transparency. I want unrestricted access to all financial data, no filters, no excuses. If I'm getting into this, I'm going in with my eyes open. He hesitates. His fingers touch the expensive ring on his finger, as if seeking strength from a family heirloom. That means exposing secrets not even the board has seen. Then it's better to trust me than the ghosts that are burying you from the inside. He takes a deep breath, resistance cracking. And the second? Freedom to negotiate with startups from East LA. I want to bring in people from where I come from, people as invisible as me, into this game. If I'm going to save your fortune, it'll be by opening doors, not closing them. Silence. Stretches. The distant sound of the elevator signals the floor is starting to fill. Ethan steps closer to her, almost at the edge of acceptable distance. The tension is palpable. You're asking for more than money. You're asking me to change how I do business. I'm not asking. I'm stating the terms. Either this way, or I go back to scrubbing coffee off the floor and let the margin call swallow you whole. The sentence hits harder than any board threat. He pulls out the gold pen he always keeps in his inner pocket, opens a blank sheet and writes in precise handwriting. Contract 60 days. Conditions. Stabilize cash flow. Reverse losses. Publicly acknowledge relationship. Launch corporate inclusion. Program. Additional clauses. Full data transparency. Freedom to negotiate with East LA startups. He signs quickly, like someone who can't afford to overthink it. Pushes the pen toward her. Your turn. Grace takes the pen. The metal weight contrasts with her work-worn fingers. The ink flows steady. Grace. A. Monroe. The sound of the cap clicking shut seals both of their fates. Ethan exhales, not in relief, but as a harbinger. It's official now. You're my partner. And this is going to drop like a bomb on the board. She folds the contract in 2 equal parts and stores it in her worn notebook. Then let it explode. Because now, if they come for me, they come for you too. At that moment, the classroom door bursts open. 2 directors walk in, suits flawless, expressions sharp. The first holds a tablet displaying numbers in red. Ethan. What's this about locking 1-4 BS without consulting the board? The second locks eyes on Grace, like she's a bold intruder. And why is a cleaning employee sitting across from you holding confidential documents? Ethan doesn't respond immediately. His breathing is heavy, but his gaze is steady. He stands next to her, shoulder to shoulder, as if he's already made his choice. The directors close the door behind them and declare, if this woman stays, there won't be war. There will be expulsion. The closed glass door echoes like a verdict. 2 directors glare at Grace, but before any word can hit harder, the figure of Evan Mercer appears in the hallway. The CFO carries a cold presence. Sharp dark gray suit, hair slicked back with gel, thin smile that never reaches his eyes. He holds a tablet with reports and speaks like a man already on trial. So it's true. The CEO signed a contract with the cleaning lady. His voice drips with venom, loud enough to echo through the surrounding cubicles. Grace feels the air cut like a blade, but keeps her chin up. Ethan steps forward, tense. Evan, watch your words. Words? This is already online, Ethan. Want to hear it? He plays a video on the tablet. An anonymous social media account displays the headline. Opportunistic maid manipulates CEO in crisis. Real-time comments scroll. This is a scam. The company's over. Where are the shareholders? Grace's heart races. The public humiliation came faster than she expected. You spread this? Evan slowly closes the tablet, the smile still on his lips. I didn't have to. The gossip press smells blood on its own. And you, Grace, you're the perfect bait. The silence weighs until Rafael Delgado enters. He walks in firmly, wearing a simple navy suit, light beard, warm eyes, the kind that have known grace since childhood. His presence shifts the air in the room. No one calls my friend an opportunist and gets away with it. Grace can barely believe it. Raphael, what are you doing here? You called me yesterday, remember? Said you needed someone to believe in you when the rest of the world didn't. He sets a thick folder on the table. I'm that someone. And from now on, I'm also your attorney. Ethan looks at Raphael in surprise. You're a corporate lawyer? I am a UCLA law graduate, specialized in compliance and auditing. And unlike certain gentlemen here, I'm not afraid of the truth. He looks directly at Evan, who holds his gaze coldly. Evan replies sarcastically, Compliance? This is $1 billion war, kid. You're going to get burned. I'd rather burn than sell out. The impact of the exchange reverberates. Grace feels her eyes sting, but she holds firm. Her heart finds breath in Raphael's loyalty. Meanwhile, Ethan opens the laptop to show something Grace had pointed out earlier. Look at this. On the screen, the IT logs appear, after-hours access to the financial server, always between 1 and 3 a.m. by a privileged account. Ethan points to the date. It matches exactly with the tampered 1-4B orders. Raphael leans in, analytical. These logs were masked. Look here. The internal IP address was cloned. That's deliberate fraud. Someone on the inside. Evan narrows his eyes but keeps his mask. Are you implying that I didn't imply anything, Raphael cuts in. But the numbers speak for themselves. And if the investigation moves forward, whoever crossed the line will take the fall. For the first time, Ethan faces Evan as an equal. If I find out you're behind this, no title or last name will protect you. The CFO lets out a dry, short laugh. Good luck. Meanwhile, the shareholders want to know why your big savior is a cleaning lady with a neighborhood lawyer. Grace feels the insult like a blade but doesn't flinch. I don't need a title to prove my worth. I'll prove it with results. And when I do, it'll be you, Evan, who'll have to explain what you were doing in the early hours with access to the server. He steps closer, his shadow blocking some of the light coming through the window. You have no idea who you're messing with. Raphael steps forward, placing himself between them. She knows exactly who. And now she's not alone. The room bursts with tension. The city noise seems to fade, leaving only the sound of beating hearts. Suddenly, Grace's phone vibrates. It's an anonymous notification. You poked where you shouldn't have. Now you'll pay the price. Her hand trembles for a second, but she lifts her eyes, steady. Ethan sees the message, his fists clenched. They're playing dirty. Grace puts the phone back in her pocket, her voice as firm as steel. Then I'll play clean. And that's what will save me. As she speaks, Raphael opens an envelope from his folder and pulls out an unexpected document. Proof no one expected to find. What he calls the first small miracle. The envelope still rested on the table when Grace decided to act. There was no time to wait for full revelations. The cash flow was gasping for air, and any delay meant collapse. With the reports in hand and the mapping of hidden clauses, she went out to negotiate. In 2 days, she achieved what no one expected. 3 smaller contracts, renegotiated quietly, began generating immediate profit. The East LA startups, which previously barely got attention from the company, signed agile partnerships. The spreadsheets changed color. Red columns gave way to green cells, discreet but powerful. In the boardroom, the directors followed every number with disbelief. The environment was hostile. Leather chairs, too bright lighting, and a suffocating air of judgment. One director, a gray-haired man with a sharp voice, pointed at Grace with disdain. "This is a Band-Aid. The cleaning lady thinks she can save the company with neighborhood contracts." Silence froze. Grace took a deep breath, ready to respond, but Ethan stood before she could. His tone came out firm, almost harsh. No one here had the courage to go out and look for a solution. She did, and she brought results in less than a week. If anyone has something better, put it on the table. If not, respect the ones who are doing the work. The tension cracked like breaking glass. Grace looked at him, surprised, heart racing. For the first time, she wasn't the one who had to defend herself. The board fell silent, displeased, and the meeting ended in quiet defeat for those who had bet on her failure. That night, as she left the building, a fine Los Angeles rain drizzled onto the asphalt. Grace's car, a 20-year-old sedan, coughed twice and died in the parking lot. She sighed, exhausted, just as Ethan approached with a black umbrella. "You going to sit here till sunrise trying to start that engine?" he asked. "I've been stuck in worse places," she replied, trying to smile. "Come on. I'll drive you." The ride to Beverly Hills was silent, tense, and intimate. The lit-up city passed by the windows like a movie. At the gate of the modern mansion, he hesitated, then said, "Come in." "It's raining too hard. I can make something to eat." Grace almost refused, but the rain soaked her to the bone. She accepted. The house was impressive. Clean lines, glass, concrete, art in every corner. But what stood out most was the kitchen, too cold for someone who lived alone. Ethan opened the fridge, took out eggs, bread, and cheese. "Don't expect anything fancy. I only know how to make omelets." Grace laughed for the first time in days. The sound filled the space. "The billionaire who cooks eggs. Now that's a headline." He smiled, half shy, half vulnerable. "I never said I knew how to live alone. Just said I knew how to make money." The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. While he stirred the pan, she watched his hands. Used to holding expensive pens, now flipping a simple skillet. The smell of melting butter brought back memories of home. She let it slip. "My mom used to make this when I came home late from classes." It was the smell that told me I wasn't alone. He looked at her, gray eyes softer. "And now you're not." The sentence hung in the air, thick. She quickly looked away, laughing at herself. "Careful, Ethan. If you keep cooking, you might end up turning human." They ate together at the counter, without formality. For the first time, the wall between them began to crack. She saw his loneliness. He saw her strength. The next day, while reviewing papers in the CFO's office, Grace found something. Forgotten. A small flash drive with a faded label. She plugged it into the laptop and opened the folder. Inside were drafts of financial spreadsheets with altered values, unofficial versions, numbers that didn't match the report shown to the board. Her heart raced. Someone's messing with the accounts to bring you down. "Ethan." He took the flash drive, his hand trembling for the first time. "And if these drafts get used against us, it won't matter what you've already accomplished. They'll look like real evidence." She looked him in the eye, firm. "Then we need to prepare. Because when the cash flow starts to breathe again." Phone vibrated on the table. Anonymous message, terse. "Enough games. Time to pull the pin." Just as Grace and Ethan begin to see hope from the first results, the direct threat arrives. Someone on the inside is ready to set off the final blow. The warning was still burning on the screen when the news exploded the next morning. Grace was crossing the building lobby with a folder full of contracts when two men in dark suits, followed by the head of security, approached her. The whisper spread faster than the echo of footsteps. "That's her. The cleaning lady who's in charge now." A director raised a tablet in the middle of the hallway, his voice laced with fake triumph. "We have evidence." A $250,000 transfer to a shell company directly tied to Ms. Grace Monroe's social security number. The screen showed footage from an internal camera, her entering a restricted room, digital clock reading 2:04, then 14B orders, signed with her digital key. The video seemed too perfect. Clear movements, sensed voice, even the uniform. Grace stopped, breathless. The hallway filled with cell phones pointed at her, live streams flooding social media. Notification sounds exploded from every pocket. The faces around her showed no compassion, only a hunger for spectacle. Ethan arrived seconds later, tie undone, face drained. "What's going on here?" "Your cleaning genius," snapped Evan Mercer, emerging from the crowd, just embezzled company money. "It's all here. Video, orders, digital signature. Police have already been called." Grace tried to speak, but her throat closed up. She clutched the folder tightly against her chest. "This isn't real." "I never." Evan cut her off, raising his voice. "Then how do you explain your signature? How do you explain the time when only your badge was authorized to access that room?" Ethan looked at the screen and hesitated. His silence hurt more than the accusation. Grace searched his eyes, desperate. "Do you believe this?" He lowered his gaze, unable to answer immediately. That single second of hesitation was the sentence. Her heart dropped, but no tears came. Only emptiness. 2 police officers entered the building. The sound of handcuffs echoed louder than any word. Cell phone cameras shook with excitement. "Ms. Grace Monroe, you are under arrest on suspicion of corporate fraud." Her hands were pulled. Behind her, cold metal tightened around her wrists. The folder fell to the floor, papers scattering like feathers in the wind. She took a deep breath, fighting collapse. She would not cry. Not in front of them. Rafael Delgado came running down the hallway, face burning with fury. "This is a setup. Don't touch her without the presence of her lawyer." But his voice was drowned out by a flood of recordings and venomous whispers. An employee muttered loud enough to wound. Knew it was too good to be true. Grace closed her eyes for a second, then lifted her head. Dignity was the only armor left. "You can cuff me," she said firmly, "but you can't erase the truth. And I will prove it." Ethan stepped forward, but it was too late. The crowd recorded every detail, starving for the fall of the woman who dared rise too far. Grace walked the hallway in cuffs, the sound of cameras bursting like fireworks. The elevator closed with her inside, and that's where the hunt for truth began. The elevator shut in front of their stairs and phones, taking Grace away in handcuffs. The weight of humiliation still echoed through the building as she made the toughest decision, to cut all contact with Ethan. Deep down, his hesitation hurt more than the cuffs. At the station, while waiting for bail to be posted, Rafael Delgado never left her side. The lawyer, with firm eyes and a warm voice, spoke softly, but every word carried conviction. "Grace, they set this up perfectly, but every fake has a flaw. I'll find it." She just nodded, exhausted. "Ethan didn't believe me, Rafael." 1 second of his silence was enough. Then forget about him for now. This is a technical war, not a romance. In the following days, Grace's modest home in Inglewood became a war room. Rafael called in a team of digital security experts, forensic audit specialists. Laptops spread out across the living room table, cables, external drives, and screens, full of code. The air smelled of strong coffee, mixed with the tension of waiting. One of the technicians, a young Asian guy with thick glasses, announced, "First step, hash check. Let's confirm if the video files and 14B orders were altered." He compared lines of code. The long verification numbers didn't match. "Got it. The signature is fake." Someone recorded over the original files. Another expert pointed to the camera's clock. Look at this. The local time server showed 1:57, but the video shows 2:04. That's a 7-minute difference. Coincidence? No, they shifted the time to match Grace's access. Grace held her old notebook in her hands, scribbling every discovery as if engraving it into her skin. Her breathing grew stronger. They even forged time against me. Raphael touched her shoulder. And the more perfect the crime, the easier it is to prove it's fake. Hours passed. The team traced financial transactions. On screen, a network of names. Accounts and transfers emerged in red lines. One shell company kept popping up, the one supposedly receiving the $250,000. Follow the money, said Raphael. The text cross-referenced data with real estate trust registries. Until one discovery made the whole room hold its breath. The same trust that received deposits from the shell was paying monthly rent for a loft in West Hollywood. The lease was under Evan Mercer's younger brother's name. Grace closed her eyes, heart pounding. He used his own family as a smokescreen. Thought no one would dig that deep. Raphael slammed his hand on the table, firm. We have the connection. Now we just need one piece to seal the puzzle. The code used to alter the logs. Silence fell. The team dove into feverish work, tracking servers, cross-checking access, breaking down every suspicious line of programming. One of them raised his head, voice full of adrenaline. Found it. A single line of code inside the email server's sync script. It shifts the clock by 7 minutes and duplicates confirmations. Disguised as a routine update, Grace looked at the screen, stunned. That simple line, hidden among thousands, was the proof that her whole life had been turned upside down by a subtle manipulation. She took a deep breath, raised her face, and said only, "This is what's going to bring down the whole lie." One single line of code. Outside the house, parked on the corner, a black car with tinted windows sat watching in silence. Someone already knew the truth was about to surface. The black car was still watching the corner when the experts wrapped up the audit. The reports were crystal clear. The video used against Grace was a light deepfake, digitally overlaid, and the logs had been tampered with using that one line of code that delayed the server clock by 7 minutes. The entire scheme unraveled under the light. Raphael held the printed documents, each page marked with digital authentication stamps. "It's here, Grace. Full-blown fraud." It wasn't just against you. It was against the company itself. She touched the documents, her breathing steady, but her eyes welled with indignation. They destroyed my life in public. And now I have to prove I'm innocent like it's some kind of favor? That same night, Ethan received the audit. Sitting in his glass office, the reflection of the city burned like an accusation. He read every line in silence, his face growing pale. When he reached the final signature, he dropped the papers and lowered his forehead into his hands. My God, all this time. And I let them drag her through the streets like a criminal. The next day he went to Inglewood. Not in an armored car, not with security, but alone, sleeves rolled up, unprotected. The street where Grace lived had kids, playing soccer on cracked asphalt, neighbors sitting on stoops with the radio blaring. The contrast was striking. A billionaire CEO in a community, rarely seen by his kind. He stopped in front of the small house with the plain facade. Grace's mother opened the door, surprised. "Are you lost, sir?" Ethan swallowed hard. "No, ma'am. I came to see your daughter." Grace appeared right behind her, eyes steady but cold. The silence between them made the neighbors pause to watch. He didn't try to smile, didn't offer excuses. He simply dropped to his knees in front of her, right there on the sidewalk. "I failed you. I doubted you when you needed me to believe the most. I have no excuse. only the responsibility to make it right. The scene drew curious eyes. Some discreetly filmed on their phones. Grace crossed her arms, her voice firm. An apology isn't enough, Ethan. I don't need private words. I need the same crowd that saw me dragged away in handcuffs to know I was deceived, not a criminal. I need you to wash the truth in public. He looked up at her, more vulnerable than ever. If it means exposing everything, I'll do it. Just tell me what you want. I want real reparations, not a cold statement written by lawyers. I want you to own the truth in front of every employee, every shareholder, every person who shared in my humiliation. If you don't have the courage, then walk away now and never come back. The wind blew hard, lifting her hair. Ethan took a deep breath, and in that moment, he made his choice. Then it will be public. Not tomorrow. Today. He stood, knees still marked by the sidewalk, and pulled out his phone. He called his assistant. Organize a town hall with live streaming. I want every employee connected, and call the press. It will be in a few hours. Grace kept her eyes on him, unwavering. Broken trust doesn't heal with grand gestures. But for the first time, she saw not the arrogant billionaire, but a man willing to burn his own reputation to restore hers. As he hung up the phone, Ethan glanced around and noticed something unsettling. One of the neighbors recording the scene wasn't actually a neighbor. He had seen him before in closed-door board meetings. The leak was already happening. Before the reckoning even began. Hours later, the convention room was packed. Hundreds of employees present, thousands watching online. The simple stage, the screen, and the cameras gave the meeting a feeling of a public trial. Ethan walked in alone. No tailored suit, just a white shirt. The tired look on his face revealed the weight he carried. He took the microphone. Today isn't about numbers. It's about truth. Silence fell. You saw an employee accused, handcuffed, humiliated. And I hesitated. I believed what I never should have. The screen showed the audit, evidence of tampering, the deepfake, the shell company. Ethan held up the papers. It was all forged. A lie that almost destroyed a life. In the corner, Evan Mercer stood up. This is ridiculous. Ethan pointed to the screen showing the transfers to his brother's trust. This isn't theater. You use this company to enrich your family. You're fired, for cause. The murmurs turned to gasps. 2 security guards escorted Evan out to a wave of boos as he shouted threats. Ethan turned back to the crowd. And as for Grace Monroe, she's not only innocent. She's the reason we're still standing. As of today, she returns with full autonomy. And we are launching the Monroe Fund to include suppliers from underserved communities. The applause roared like thunder. Grace walked down the aisle, heart racing. On stage, Ethan met her eyes. It wasn't a deal that saved us. It was you. The hug between them wasn't for show, it was real. The entire room erupted in clapping and tears. In the back, Raphael smiled. Silently. But with the stream still live, one question lingered in the air. Now, what would they do with their second chance? Months later, the company had transformed. Transparency became standard. The Monroe Fund opened 120 job opportunities and 15 scholarships for youth from underprivileged neighborhoods. Grace became a role model, receiving thanks from new employees. You opened this door for us. She smiled. I just gave it a push. It's up to you to keep it open. In her personal life, love grew without spectacle. The proposal came during a simple dinner. Grace said yes, but insisted on equality. Raphael drafted the prenuptial agreement. As Ethan signed it, he murmured, I never thought a contract would make me feel freer. Raphael replied, that's because this time, it's not business. It's trust. In a national interview, Ethan summed it up. Wealth without character is immoral. debt. Beside him, Grace was living proof of resilience. They weren't perfect, but everything stood on radical respect. The camera zoomed in on her face. The narrator closed. Would you forgive someone who hesitated when you needed them the most? Grace's gaze, steady, with a hint of a smile, let the question echo in every viewer's heart. So, what did you think of this story? I really want to know your opinion. Leave your comment below. From 0 to 10, how much did this plot capture your attention? If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like it, share it with someone who'll be just as moved, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapters. And before you go, I've already lined up another story that's even more powerful and promises to move you even deeper.